Welcome to my podcast for English 202. Everybody say your name. I'm Bailey Seagriff.
I am Jake Seagriff.
I'm Lauren Seagriff.
Derek Turner.
We're going to be talking about the conspiracy theory, my original conspiracy theory, that we did land on the moon, but that all of the points that conspiracy theorists say make the moon landing a hoax actually is just NASA and the United States government trying to stage the photos and videos to make it look as incredible as possible, as patriotic as possible, and to be able to use those photos and videos as propaganda in the years of the Cold War, in the space race. So I'm going to start by talking about why I believe we made it on the moon. So, apparently on the 6 Apollo missions that went to the moon, 842 pounds of moon rocks were brought back and given out to scientists throughout the country to be studied. I don't believe that these scientists could have been fooled, you know?
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there. I think that, with how many people that would need to be involved in, the creation of a rocket that could reach space, I don't know the word I'm looking for. The chances of one person not coming out and telling his wife, his neighbor, and then it growing, spreading and people actually finding out it was a conspiracy are very low. You would think, at least one link in the chain would break the conspiracy of a fake moon landing.
Yeah, so there were 400,000 scientists involved on all 6 Apollo missions. I don't think that all of them would have been in on it. All of them either would have been fooled or would have known and not said anything, have been okay with it. No matter what contracts you sign, there's going to be one person who, goes crazy and says, oh, this is what happened, or tells their wife, or grandpa tells their grandkids that the moon landing was faked, and, there's no way that no one would have said anything.
And although back in those days there were many major conspiracies that may have been swept under the rug by the media back in the day, such as the many affairs of John F. Kennedy and other happenings of the sort, it's highly improbable, a janitor sweeping up late at night could have stumbled across something. There's just too money to be made, by busting a fake conspiracy that changed the world forever.
Like, another point I wanted to make is, Soviet Union didn't like us. They wouldn't have been in on it, and they had their own stuff in space. They had satellites, and they picked up radio communications from, the Apollo missions to the ground.
What do you mean? Is there a thought that the Soviets helped us fake?
No, I'm just saying that if anyone would have been able to, say, you faked it, we know it, we were in space, it would have been them.
So you're thinking that the Soviets would have also caught on to us faking
it? They would have known. They had
Which
people
is a fair
in
enough
space
fact.
too,
Well, not only did they have people in space, but they had many spies and undercover agents in the United States, so, you feel like that information would be of top priority in leading back to the Soviet Union.
It was the Cold War. We weren't pals.
No,
we were enemies. We were against each other.
They were fighting just as hard to get to the moon as we were. And of course they're gonna,
If they
have the opportunity to bust it and actually be the first ones that they're gonna take.
If there was anything to have found, they would have found it.
They were looking hard for something that was wrong.
And the last point I wanted to make is, why would they risk 5 additional, allegedly fake moon landings, fake space missions? Why wouldn't they just leave it at the one and be done? Why would they risk it 5 more times in the Apollo missions? There were 6 Apollo missions, 5 more. I don't think that would have been reason that would have. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, you'd imagine if they did hoax it, they would have just given up after their first attempt.
You wouldn't risk it again. So basically, my next point was, why would they have wanted to stage it? It was the Cold War. There were tensions. There was a space race. They definitely used these photos and videos that were taken to rub it in the Soviet Union's face. We did it first. Look at us. We're so great. Rally the country. We're the best. We're the best in the world.
Well,
We
that
did
was a big part of Jack Kennedy when he came into office. That was one of the goals he said. He wanted to reach the moon, and that was a big morale boost for the United States of America. We're still entrenched in Vietnam, and morale was low in the country. Tensions were rising. There were protests. People wanted us out of the war, and patriotism was at a low. So I think it was key that the Americans had that all-important propaganda tool of being the first nation to land on the moon. Before, you think back 50 years before that, they still didn't have the automobile, and now we're, making it to outer space, a dream that, since people were people, we've looked up at the sky and thought, what if? And we were finally accomplishing that before our, dreaded worst enemy. And, just another win for capitalism against communism. What can capitalism achieve that communism could never achieve?
Getting on the moon. So, with all that being said, motives established. I want to jump right in. So, I'm going to hit on all of the points that hoaxers and theorists use to say that we didn't make it on the moon, that we did not get to the moon. It was all staged on the Earth in a Hollywood film set. And I'm going to, go from there. So, the first one I'm going to hit on is a lot of theorists say that there were no stars in the sky. There was no stars in the background of the pictures and the videos, and that means that someone forgot to turn the lights on in the background that showed the stars. Whatever. This has actually been debunked. Photographers, many photographers have said that the light from the sun hitting the surface of the moon was so bright that the cameras would get washed out. Similar to light pollution, which is where, big cities, the lights from the big cities reflect into the sky, you can't see the stars. So that's been completely debunked. I don't understand why that's a big point for people. It's kind of makes sense.
Yeah, the film back then wasn't as quality as it is now.
Yeah, it's not an HD.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to see every star in the background. I think that's stupid.
Well, and you can, there's enough people out there. You can convince a photography expert to pretty much say anything. There's doctors who would tell you that smoking was good for you back in the 60s when they knew otherwise. Mm-hmm. But you can be convinced of a lot of things, say a lot of things.
Yeah, so the next one that I'm going to hit on is they call it the sea rock. Most famous photos show rock on the moon that looks like the letter C was stamped onto it. Theorists say this rock could have been, a set piece that was labeled and accidentally turned over, flipped around. You could see the C stamped onto it. Scientists say that the C is like a glitch in the photography. There was stray hair that came out that, got onto the film when they were reproducing it. I think that's a little fishy,
I agree, but I know if you find a rock with a similar meaning here, you kind of think, oh, that's an animal. That's what it is.
At the same time, I feel like people were just looking. That's like something so minor. People are just looking.
They're looking to find something that may not be there.
Yeah, they're grasping at straws.
Yeah, that's how it is with a lot of conspiracy things. You just look for something to prove your point and ignore the rest.
Yeah. I mean, it could. They use like with the red room, and they would put them in the water. I don't know anything about photography, but they would put it in the water and dark room, whatever, with the red light. You know what I mean. But it's like that could have easily happened. I think that doesn't really make sense. I don't think that anyone who has looked into this theory at all has said that is the most convincing piece of evidence.
That seems like a small piece.
Right.
Yeah,
a small piece of the whole puzzle.
Yeah, and a lot of articles and videos I saw, so, surfing the web, trying to research this, and before even researching for this project. I mean, it didn't make a lot of sense.
If it had like a name, like a small print name on it, maybe I'll be like, okay, that's really fishy.
Yeah.
But like, what are the
The
chances?
letter C, it's just
It's nothing crazy.
You can see that anywhere on the
right.
It's not a W.
Yeah.
It's not a very intricate letter.
Yeah, I don't think that one's pretty good. Excuse me. Next, what I'm going to talk about is the shadows. In photos, the shadows have varying lengths, even though the objects or people are close to each other. Theorists claim that this is due to stage lighting, multiple lighting, casting different shadows. Scientists argue that the photos were taken on, rocky, rough terrain, and the shadows vary because of that. I can see both sides of this. I was an art major for 1.5 years. When you're drawing a perspective drawing, everything leads back to the same point in the horizon, which is your perspective point. I've never been on the moon. I've never drawn from perspective on the moon, so I don't know how the atmosphere would differentiate that. But I could see both points.
That's true. You have the sun coming from a different angle, casting shadows, and yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell the rough terrain because there's not much for perspective because it's so flat, so it's hard to tell varying heights and such.
Yeah, there's no grass and trees, and
Yeah, there's nothing to look at to gauge how long or short things are.
Yeah,
to kind of throw off your
Lighting is
vision.
completely different up there. You've never
no
one's been up there
Yeah.
before this. So how are they going to
Yeah.
gauge this?
And you can't compare it to other photos to see what the differences would be.
That's true. And the film.
Mm-hmm.
Like for all the other photography points, the film quality was not the highest.
Mhm.
Then a dumbed down version of that, okay, we know what pictures on Earth look like. How are you supposed to know what pictures on a completely different planet, completely different atmosphere are going to look like? Obviously,
Mhm.
they're going to be a little different.
It's one of those things where, do you trust the experts? Do you trust what information they're giving you?
They're
It's one of
making their
those,
decisions on percentages. So
Another point to say is, on Earth, on this planet, when you're looking far away, as things get further back, they get, like a blue haze and, a little, misty. You can tell they're far away. On the moon, there's nothing of very different colors. It's grayscale. It's the moon. There's nothing on it. So you're not going to be able to gauge the distance when everything kind of looks the same. There's no mist. There's no dust in the sky to tell you how far things away are. I think that has a lot to do with it. The moon's also smaller, so the horizon's closer. So things that you think would be far away are actually close. It's a whole thing where the people who are making these theories, they've never been on the moon. They don't know. So I think this is one of those things where, believe the experts. I think they know. I think they've proved they know what they're doing. So these last 2 points I want to hit on are what make me personally believe that the moon landing was that we made it on the moon, but that we wanted these pictures and videos to be as good as possible to use for propaganda or what have you. So I'm going to talk about the American flag, which has been a huge pivotal point in all theories. It looks as though the flag is blowing in the wind, even though there's no wind on the moon. Theorists claim that the flag was photographed in a drafty studio. Scientists say that there was a wire running along the top edge of the flag to make it look upright to show the flag, and that the ripples are from the astronauts struggling to position the fabric. Some of my research actually said that the wrinkles on the flag are from how it was stored, and it got, wrinkly. There is a fact that they put a wire along the top of the flag so that in the photo it looked
It
stays
it was
still.
upright, because it
Right.
would have just fallen right down.
Well, yeah, and what good's a picture if the American flag's draped over
Exactly.
when it's standing at full mast, full attention?
So, this big pivotal there was no air on the moon. How could it be upright? How could it look like it's flowing in the wind?
Yeah.
Is debunked completely
It's
and
one of the
utterly.
biggest arguments. That's like the first one you hear. Well, how is the flag standing up? Well,
Yeah, well,
There
they
it
put a
is.
wire.
you know, yeah,
They said
there's
it.
wiring.
There was not a secret. There was no one trying to say, "Oh no, we didn't do that." You know,
It's another example of people looking for their own conspiracy theories,
Yeah,
And that's like an expert.
just trying to
thing.
make it fit their narrative.
Like the people that like obviously were behind this whole thing, they knew that the flag wouldn't stay up, so they probably planned this in advance. Like a normal person wouldn't think, like, oh, we're gonna need a wire to top the flag.
But when
Yeah.
you put in years of hard work, you think,
Exactly,
hey,
you
we
think
better
of
put
little
a
things
yeah,
like that.
exactly.
we better make this look as good as possible
Yeah.
because we're doing it.
Right.
Yeah, the smartest people in the world aren't going to forget something that pivotal.
Yeah,
Especially when you do all this work and then the flag looks like crap whenever you stick it in the flag.
Yeah.
It's just not.
it just baffles me that people are
And
like,
also the ripples,
God.
like that. Why? Sorry.
no, go ahead.
Why? I don't understand the whole ripple thing either. There's no gravity. If they, as they were setting it up,
It's
it
gonna,
got wrinkled. Like it just doesn't
it wouldn't be flat.
exactly unless they had an iron out there ironing it
Yeah,
on the
like
moon.
it just. I think that it probably was both the storage. You know, you're gonna fold it up respectfully, as people do with the flag when
Right.
it's not in there on a flagpole. You're gonna fold it up in that little triangle
Probably in a
doodad
box too.
And it
was
just
it
so happened to look like
to look like it was waving in the wind.
Right.
And, you know, they're probably. I think I read in an article there was a struggle to get it up there to make it flat and look good.
yeah.
You're gonna want it to look as good as possible. I don't At one point, I thought maybe the moon landing was faked, and then doing this research, I was like, how? Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's one of the most popular ones out there.
It's crazy. Like, who believes this? I mean, I know there's people, and I know there's die-hard. Just like the flat earthers, there's the fake moon landingers.
They were the original flat earthers.
The die-hard were like, we weren't up there. It's like, but their main points are debunked by a college kid and 3 out-of-college kids. Like, I don't know. The last one I want to talk about, I didn't hear a lot about, like, before I was doing this research. It wasn't in a lot of stuff, but it's about people believing that the film that we see is in slow motion, and that the astronauts are on wires. And some theorists say that to create the effect of gravity in a studio, the astronauts were filmed in slow motion on wires. Theorists say that film was slowed down by NASA to make it look as though the astronauts were floating through the air. Scientists say that this is impossible because the dust kicked up from the jumps. If NASA filmed these on Earth, the dust would have gathered into clouds in the air. It's a whole different deal. In the videos, the dust doesn't collect into the air; it falls right back down. So I don't know. I'm not a dust expert. This is just what I'm getting from my research. But I did watch videos of the moon landing slowed down, or not the moon landing, but the videos slowed down of them like jumping around and doing stuff. I mean, it looked like they were on wires, but that's because it was slowed down. You know what I mean? Like, kind of makes sense. Maybe it was they put it in like a little slow motion to make it look a little cooler, to make it look like they were
go for the effect.
go for the effect. Exactly. This was a time when Hollywood was big. You want things to look as thrilling and crazy as possible. I've never experienced zero gravity. I don't know what it's like, but I'm sure that it looks a little cooler when it's even slower.
So you're saying in the videos that the NASA put out, that the dust just falls back down,
Yeah, it doesn't go up into a cloud,
which is what it should have done.
which is what it would have done on Earth. Yeah,
Doesn't sand do that though?
sand's heavier than dust.
And we have stronger gravity.
Yeah, our
So
gravity,
it would
you know.
pull it down. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, exactly. I'm not a dust expert here, but I mean, how much force were they actually hitting the surface of the moon with? Would it be enough to kick up that much dust to make it noticeable,
Yeah.
or would it have just? I mean, although the dust is under gravity, the astronauts aren't under gravity either. So why would it it may make a small plume, but nothing that would
Fly.
be
Yeah.
a big, large dust cloud that would keep it ascending. They're not coming on down with that much force, I wouldn't imagine.
Because of the gravity, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think this is like one of those weird ones where you could
A smarter, a more well-read individual than us could probably tell you why.
yeah, we're like I said, a college kid,
I think that's
college
like
grads. I mean,
just something someone looking way too far into.
yeah, we're not
That
scientists.
was a little much.
Like-
I know, to think about that is just so crazy. Like, just look at the bigger picture, honestly.
Yeah, like of course it's gonna look like they're on wires. If you're speeding it up, it's gonna look weird. It's gonna look different. I think it makes sense. Maybe they slowed it down like a hair to give it more of a dramatic effect. Like, wow, look how crazy this is. There's no gravity.
Using Occam's razor, you would imagine that with all the theories we've debunked already, you just got to go with the one that makes the most sense. I mean, either we did or we didn't, and it seems that maybe not the easiest one, but the one that clearly makes the most sense is that we did land on the moon in 1969, and it
Just is what it is.
it is what it is.
We did it. We wanted to go, American tradition, go big or go home.
Yeah, we wanted to prove our supremacy and solidify our place as the single world power, and that was a big step in doing so.
I did a lot of research to see if this theory was out there at all, because I wanted it to be my own original thought, which was really hard. But, no one has said. I think that these points that theorists make are just points that, the astronauts and the U.S. government and NASA wanted this to be a big event. This wasn't just broadcast.
Yeah.
On
Every
Everyone
all
was
of the
watching it.
7
Yeah.
stations.
Yeah, everyone was watching it. It was this crazy, huge event. This historical, you read about it in your history books. Your grandparents remember it happening.
No one wanted
know?
to miss this.
Yeah, it was this big event.
With all these eyes on it and the whole world watching, it would be far-fetched to believe that if it was fake, it wouldn't have come out by now.
Exactly. Yeah, it's baffling that people are one side or the other and are not seeing that.
When you look at it rationally and you don't just read what you want to hear, if you actually read what scientists say and what the majority of the people have to say, you'll realize easily that we landed on the moon. But you can find anything on the internet.
If you make up your mind before you
if
even
you
look
make up
into
your
it,
mind before you look
you're not
into
going to
it.
see the other.
And it's good that you
Exactly.
read like both sides of it.
Yeah, it was eye opening because when you believe something so much, you'll overlook anything just to keep believing it.
It's a problem in a lot of things. Once people get stuck in their ways, they just can't be changed by logic or reasoning. They just want to believe what they want to believe. Be stubborn.
Well, so I guess all in all, we did land on the moon. We just wanted it to look super cool. That's that's that. Thanks for listening. This is the first and
Give her an
last. This is the first and last Bailey, Jake, Lauren, Derek podcast brought to you straight from our vacation. Have a great day, all 2 people who are listening.